Great day, attractive thinker and visionaries around the world. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. You may wonder, what is an attractive thinker? It is a person such as yourself with vision who can see beyond what they're looking at, and they have the courage, because it takes courage to see something other than what's being presented to you. After you see what you see, an attractive thinker is a person who has the courage to focus on what you see until it manifests. And we're here to support you with mental tools for mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance. When you're at the website, theattractivethinker.guru, grab your freebies there, because every mental tool matters and it helps you as a new and aspiring entrepreneur. Welcome my co-host Tichet Bradshaw to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. We made it through another week full of power. You have the opportunity to do what you've never done, go where you've never gone, and have all that you deserve to have in this lifetime. It's a great day to be alive.
Yes, it is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. I like it when you say go where you've never gone before. That is possible for us all to shed. This is why we do what we do, because just the thought of going where you've never gone before, reconnecting with what your heart truly desires, it takes courage and support. You know, attractive thinkers and visionaries, I trust that you have your attractive thinker notebook handy, because that's what we do. We capture the gems. We just don't sit and listen. We capture the gems because we know these messages are rich. We know what we hear, what we connect to. You're listening to this message now because something resonated with you, and we haven't even gotten started. It's the spirit, it's the energy, it's how you feel. You're making a connection right now based on our presence. So we want you to tune in and get closer. Bring your ear closer. Have your attractive thinker notebook handy, because you're going to hear things that we aren't even saying. You're going to hear things in your spirit that we aren't even saying, that are going to be the answers and the clarity and the direction that you need to reach your goals, to create your dreams, ideas, and desires, to really connect with your heart and create a life that you love. This is what this is all about. It takes support to create a life that you love when you're surrounded by everything that's contrary to that. So this is why we exist. Beyond the Break 2020 on our YouTube channel, we have a whole host of messages specifically designed and crafted for you, to support you on your entrepreneurial journey, or in any form of change and transformation that you desire to bring about in your life. It takes support, because you're going to enter into an unfamiliar territory. You're going to hit some roadblocks that you haven't considered. Those roadblocks are not a reason for you to turn around and retreat. They're not there for you as a sign that you shouldn't be going in that direction. You got to have the right perspective when you're changing your life or creating something new in your life, and perspective matters. Speaking of perspective, if you haven't already done so, run on over to Amazon and grab your copy of the Attractive Thinker book. You need that resource. It is full of resources to support you in not getting stuck while on this journey, but in moving forward, uprooting what's in your way so you can continue to make progress in your life. Last week, we talked about peace disturbance, the break that you need. And this week, we promised you that we would do part two. We would present to you part two of that message, because it was resonating with us so much, and we know that it was resonating with you as well. If these messages are making a difference in your life, click the like button, subscribe to our channel, click that share button, because mental health is at its highest in this world that we're living in right now. And if this message is supporting you and inspiring you, it will do the same thing for others. When we talk about peace, we talked about the value of peace. We talked about making peace a priority, your priority. Today, we're going to talk about the sacrifice of peace. So this is Peace Disturbance Part 2. And we're going to be talking about the sacrifice of peace. You don't hear that. That's not common. When you hear messages, be it at a conference or a mastermind or at church or at a meeting, and they're telling you what's possible for you, not often do they share also what you're going to have to encounter while you are acquiring what's available to you, what's possible for you. And this is where a lot of entrepreneurs and people who want to bring about changes in their lives, this is where we get stuck. This is what takes the most time to shed. This is what where the most work needs to be done. This is the reason why the graveyard is full of dreams, ideas, and desires that never got a chance to be born in this realm because they got stuck between fear, guilt, shame, unworthiness, undeservedness, low self esteem. They got stuck in lack or stuck in how we feel about ourselves or what we feel as though is possible for ourselves. Our dreams can get stuck in those crevices, and without the proper attractive thinker tools, they'll never get unstuck and have the opportunity to be born and manifested in the earth. Tichet, talk to us today about the sacrifice of peace.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something. When you start going through life wanting peace, it changes things, Dr. Tony, because it's going to cost you something.
Mm,
And it's a good cost. Some things you want to pay for, right? When you want peace in your life, it's going to cost your old way of living. It's going to cost the comfort zone, the thing you've been depending on. It's going to cost all of that. It's going to be like a trade-in. So you're trading in your comfort zone for peace. But if you understand the value of peace, then you understand that the trade-off that you're getting is very much worth it, right? Because we depend on our comfort zone a lot of times for many reasons, because of lack of clarity. We depend on our comfort zone because of the unknowing. We're afraid of the unknowing. Lack of courage. We depend on our comfort zone because it's what we know, it's what we're comfortable with. And so a lot of times we don't push to go forward in certain things because we don't know what's ahead of us. We're afraid to lose. This is why you really have to understand who you are and understand what is calling you, right? Because what is calling you is also attached to your peace. It's hard to manifest things without your peace, Dr. Tony,
mm-hmm,
because when you are met with resistance, when you're going towards peace and you're met with resistance, you're disturbing or interrupting your spiritual journey. And this is why the value of peace is necessary to learn so that you can understand what disturbs you and what's not. Okay. A lot of times when you start going towards building peace for your life, you can't expect everything and everyone to fall in line with that. It's going to cost you some friends, it's going to cost you some family, it's going to cost you some jobs, it's going to cost you some things because your new journey, the journey that's calling you, the anointing that's calling you, the new life that's calling you, it's going to cost you the old life. You're going to have to let go of the old life, right? We have an idea of what I mean when I say the old life. When I say the old life, I'm talking about the life where you felt still stuck and stagnant, the life where it wasn't, you didn't feel the alive, you didn't feel the connection, you didn't feel awake, you didn't feel aware, you felt kind of, you know, blah. It wasn't enough. It's the not having enough, right? And then now you want more than enough because you believe that more than enough. If I had this, that, and the other, I would have more peace. If I had this, that, and the other, I would feel more alive. You have to know what you're calling for because you're not just calling for external things, tangible things. You're calling for intangible things alongside of the tangible things. It's not just, you don't want just a new house. You don't want just a new business. You don't want just more money. You don't want just a new love life. You don't want all of that. You want what comes with that. You want what comes with the new house, a peace. You say, okay, if I get a new house and I have more room, and see how it would be designed. You're expecting that the energy of that house to feed into you. You're expecting it to give you something in return. And a lot of times, a lot of us are looking for peace. We say, if I had more room, I had freedom to move, I would have more peace, because the clutter that I have is disrupting my state of mind. You say, if I had a new relationship, the energy of that new relationship, I would have something that would take up a little more of my mental space versus the old relationship, which was disturbing my peace. So when you start looking for peace, it's going to require you to let go. That's your first sacrifice. It's going to require you to let go of the old way of being, the old way of living, and the old way of knowing. Why? Because you can't put new wine in old wine skin, it will break. Meaning you can't go and expect to live a new life with the old way of thinking, the old way of knowing, and the old way of being, and thinking that it's going to work in a new way. It's not going to work. You're going to have to change something, and the change has to start internally, Dr. Toni. When you're following after peace, there's going to be some things you're going to come up against. There's going to be some resistance from some people that you're going to come up against, because your peace is not going to fall in line with everybody else's agenda. It's just not. Because when greatness calls you, it's not calling you and everybody connected to you right at that time. Sometimes you can't bring everybody with you, unfortunately, because not everybody is willing to go. Not everybody is willing to walk in greatness. Not everybody have vision. Not everybody can see what you see. It's calling you at the moment. You go and break ground, you go and trailblaze, you go and pathfind, and then after you get to the territory where peace lives, then you can go back and be a testimony to those that were in doubt. But trying to drag everybody with you the first time that you go, you're going to mess around and get caught up in something you didn't account for. You know, Dr. Toni, we talk about Harriet Tubman in different episodes where we talked about she had to set herself free first and then come back and get everybody. And she had to see freedom so much so that she was willing to take the risk. She was willing to sacrifice her life in order to get to the place of freedom. She was willing to sacrifice the ability to get caught. You know, because sometimes we have a fear that might stand up against us when you start trying to go and live in greatness, when you start trying to live free, when you start trying to live in peace. Fear sometimes will stand up against you and say, don't do that. If you do that, you're going to lose everything. If you do that, you're going to die. If you do that, a lot of that is ego. A lot of that is your mind. So sometimes in order for you to get to a place of greatness, you have to become out of your mind, because your mind can only comprehend but so much, but your spirit knows all. So you got to get into a place where you get connected in the spirit, and you get a connection so much so that the spirit will give energy to your heart, which will feed into a desire of a new way of living, a new way of being. And you get that connection, and that connection builds that trust. And when you build that trust, you can pretty much take what the spirit is saying to the bank and cash it. But sometimes when the spirit tells you something, your mind's not going to comprehend why right away. Sometimes it's going to take you to get there and then look back, see hindsight is 2020, and say, oh, that's why you called me to this, for you to even comprehend why you had to go there in the first place. Right. So when we talk about Harriet Tubman, not everybody could understand that she was able to get free, but she heard something in her spirit says, freedom is calling me, and I got to be willing to risk everything I know. I got to be willing to go up against this fear of being killed, up against this fear of people catching me. I had to go up against the fear of somebody seeing me. I had to go up against the fear that I might pass out on the road, because greatness is calling me, and she had to set herself free. But when she set herself free, it was so much goodness that was there that she didn't even want to enjoy it by herself. It wasn't enough for her to just live that freedom and that goodness by herself. She then had to take the sacrifice of that freedom, come back and get people so that they can enjoy the freedom. But she had to be that pathfinder, that trailblazer. She had to be willing to stand up against everything that she knew, because she didn't know what was on the other side. She's never been there. And a lot of us, greatness is calling us, a new life is calling us. And because we've never been there, our mind will say, well, I heard it was this over there. I heard it was that over there. Or I don't know if I'll have all the provision. And I don't know. Because when Harriet Tubman was wanting to get free, some people met her with resistance. Same thing when we talk about the Bible, Dr. Toni. Some people didn't want to go. Some people were okay staying in the comfort zone. Well, at least we had this, that, and the other. We had 3 meals a day and clothes on our back. At least they was willing to settle for the comfort zone. In order for her to break free, she had to break free from the comfort zone in order to go and seek out greatness. And she found that, and more abundantly, she found so much greatness that not only she was able to make it, but she was able to set hundreds and hundreds of people free. She could have done more if people would have recognized that they were in their comfort zone. If people would have recognized that greatness was calling them. The thing is everybody's they're not gonna go with you, unfortunately. And you're not responsible for making people go with you. What you are responsible for is showing up as a testimony and allowing the people who desire to get free to be able to feed off your fruit. But you got to be willing to go first. You got to be willing. It takes sacrifice, Dr. Toni, to be a trailblazer and a pathfinder. It takes a lot of sacrifice to do something you ain't never seen nobody else do. It takes a lot of courage to go and get something you've never had before. This is why I said we made it through another week. We made it through another week. You have a chance to do what you have never done, go where you've never gone, and have all that you deserve to have, because I am trusting that for you this week is your breakthrough week, that you'll be able to attain the things you've never had. You're able to walk into places you have never gone before, but also you recognize the opportunity. This is why I say this every week, so that you can understand that there is an opportunity for you to go after greatness, and we can't take that for granted because we're afraid, because we think that something is going to happen to us, or we think we're going to fall, because just because we think it don't mean it's true. Now, here's the thing. Sometimes our beliefs, limited beliefs, will get in our way, but we let our limited beliefs get in our way, Dr. Toni, because we don't know their limited beliefs. We don't know. We think, okay, because we believe it is true, right? And we say, I'm standing on this belief that there's wolves out there, there's giants in the land, right? We believe we're grasshoppers compared to them giants, but it takes somebody with courage to say, no, I'm more than that. Even though they are bigger, I am greater, right? And we have to allow ourselves the courage to be able to stand up against those things that we feel like we couldn't stand up to before. That takes a lot of courage, Dr. Toni. And it takes us becoming out of our mind, because that's what people going to think. They're going to say, you must be out of your mind if you think you can do this. You know how many businesses have become successful? How many inventions that we use in our everyday life that people, when they first heard the idea, they say, you must be out of your mind if you think you could sell bottled water when we got water coming out the faucet. You must be out of your mind if you think we're able to defy gravity and fly. You must be out of your mind if you think we can take this and make that. Like, people have all kinds of resistance, but what we don't have is resistance. When we get tired, we don't care about no resistance. All we care about is freedom. When you get tired of being stale, stuck, and stagnant, that tired is enough fuel to make you go see what's out here, because you say, what I won't do is stand here in the middle of this, whatever this is, this limitation. When you get tired of the limitation, you'll go find your peace. A lot of us will make excuses for the limitation because we're not tired yet. When you get tired of being captivated or enslaved by fear, guilt, and shame, you'll do whatever you got to do. You'll risk your whole life to go and find your way of freedom, your way of peace. And so you'll make certain sacrifices when you get tired. The thing is why does it have to take us almost dying to get free? When you have people like us who are telling you there's greatness calling you, go for it anyway. Go ahead, take the risk. No risk, no reward, right? Take the risk. Go out there and see what's out there for you, rather than to stay here and always question whether there's greatness out there. When I get out of this physical body, I want to know that I did everything that I could to experience what my soul wanted to experience without excuses. I want to know that I was able to walk through all kinds of hurdles and stuff to be able to access the things that I never thought I could access. I want to go beyond limitation, beyond reasoning, because sometimes we use reasoning as a barrier, Dr. Toni, where we say the reason why I couldn't do that. You give excuses to why you stay comfortable. We'll reason with ourselves. If you don't go out there, you don't make no waves. You don't, especially if you're people pleasing, you don't want to make waves. You make all kinds. They gonna be mad with me. I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Sometimes you're gonna have to, unfortunately. Sometimes because everything your spirit is calling you to do is not going to be in alignment with other people's agenda, and their feelings are going to be hurt. But if you keep going and allow yourself to see why your spirit, and trust your spirit first and foremost, and allow yourself to see why your spirit called you towards that, not only will it show the person you think feelings were going to be hurt, it'll be a testimony to them. It'll show them why you had to do it that way. And let me tell you something, when you are walking testimony, it'll bless more than it curse. It will bless the people who really had your best interests at heart. It'll hurt the people who only had an agenda in mind. And that's that it'll filter out some people, is what I'm saying, Dr. Toni. When you start going to your piece, let it filter it out. Let it filter it out, because you want to make sure that you are in alignment and agreement and relationship and connection to people who really mean the best for you, who really want to see you win. So let it filter out all the naysayers and the haters. It's okay to have a little hateration. It's okay. As long as you don't hate yourself, that's all. That's okay. As long as you're not hating on you and doing negative self-talk and beating yourself over the head and self-abuse, whatever anybody else says does not have to penetrate if you don't accept it. So you'll allow yourself to follow your peace regardless, and know that peace is going to show up as greatness in the end. There's so much more calling you. Back to you, Dr. Toni.
Wow. Attractive thinkers and visionaries, I trust that you have captured the gems that Tichet just shared with us in your own way. You heard the voice, you heard her, and then you heard the voice. You know exactly what was speaking to you in this message. Tichet, when I look up the word sacrifice, it says um, to surrender or give up or permit for the sake of something else. Attractive thinkers, write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. To surrender, submit, or give up something for the sake of something else. What is it that you're willing to give up for the sake of peace? When we talk about the sacrifice of peace, to give up something. If we're giving up something if the goal is peace, that's the desire, and we're giving up something, that means the thing that we're giving up is not contributing to our peace. It's not contributing. So when you break it down like that, it makes it just a tad bit easier to give it up, to have the correct perspective of it, to give it up so that you can make room for When you give up something, you're making room for something else. Think about, let me share something with you here while you were talking to Shep, because you mentioned intangible things. So when we have desires, you said when we have desires, we're calling on intangible things, meaning things that we can't see, touch, or feel. There are emotions tied to our desires. We only desire these things because we want to feel a certain way. We want to either
Yes.
feel peace or joy or happiness or comfort or pleasure. And some people say, well, we shouldn't be able to manufacture these things on our own. Yes, but we have desires for a reason. And desires become strong desires when we feel that strong emotional connection to them. What I mean by that is this: you can have a desire, but you may not be desiring it enough to do something about that desire. People will tell you all day long that they want to do this and they want to do that, but that passion, that fire, that emotional connection is not there in such a way that it makes an impact in their life. They feel the weight of that desire or that connection, the fire enough that, some people say you need some fire behind your behind to get you to move. That desire, the connection that we're talking about is the connection that gets you to move towards in the direction of your desire. So transforming an intangible idea, think about this: transforming an intangible idea means taking something that you can't see and making it into a tangible result. Requires support. A tangible result meaning something that you can see in your hand. So you're taking something, attractive thinker and visionary, from the invisible realm that you and nobody else can see. You see it in your vision, and you're transforming it. You're putting meat and bones on it. You're making a reality. You're materializing it so that you and everybody else sees what you've been working on. You and everybody else sees what your real desires are and your ideas and your goals are. That takes an enormous amount of support, courage, clarity, and a shift in your life, in the life that you're living now. So that sacrifice, that exchange, you're exchanging the life you're living now for the life that you desire to live. And you have to know that that calls for support. When you are acquiring a desire, a dream, or an idea, you'll have to, there are things you may not even be able, you may never have considered it or know what they are, but there are things that you will have to sacrifice. You're going to have to sacrifice something. You're going to have to sacrifice something. If you've watched that show called Hoarders, they have to give up something in order to get that clean house, in order to get organization. If you want organization, then you have to sacrifice clutter. You're going to have to give up clutter. And giving up clutter is not just removing the clutter. You're going to have to be willing to get rid of the clutter in you, because that's where it originated. There was clutter in you that manifested outside of you to a cluttered home, a cluttered environment. That clutter came from somewhere. The root of that clutter exists somewhere in you, in the person, that show Hoarders. It exists somewhere in them. There's an emotional connection. And it's true because when you watch the show, you see how the people there to support and help them get in getting rid of things, they experience resistance when the homeowner is holding on to something while the other person is trying to put it in the trash. They're only holding on to it because there's an emotional connection to it. Think about that. See, this message is one to listen to again because there's a lot to unpack here. You're hearing us, but there's another message that is resonating with you. It's an underlying message. You have to listen to it again and listen to it again and listen to it again in order to get clarity on what this message is saying to you. So you'll have to sacrifice something. So think about something that you desire. This is an activity right now. Think about something that you desire. See, I always like to give practical application of these messages. So you might desire a home or a car or a vacation or a business, or you might desire to move or become a doctor, a pilot, a lawyer, or you might simply want peace. I had clients that just wanted to think a different thought, just wanted to think some calming, peaceful, less stressful thoughts. So think about something that you desire and write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. My question to you is this. Have you considered this question? I want you to think about this. What will have to shift in order to make room for the thing that you desire? See, Tichet, a lot of times we make lists of what we desire, but in that plan, in that list, we haven't considered, okay, what do I have to move and shift in my current life to make room for these desires? You like you said to me earlier, probably before this message, you may have said it in this message, you can't pour new wine into old wineskins. You have to make room for these new desires, dreams, and ideas that you have. Where can they fit into your life? Do you have room? You want a new car. Okay, think about that. Tachet, we both have acquired new cars before. So, and I'm sure attractive thinkers and visionaries, you have as well. When you acquired a new car, what shifted in your life? Did you have to get rid of the old one? Did you park the old one somewhere else to make room for a parking space for this new car? um when you took the all of that stuff out of the old car, did you put all of that stuff in the new car, or did you use it as an opportunity to start getting rid of things that you had been carrying around and driving around in your car with, that you no longer need? Because now that you have this new car, you'd be like, no, I'm not putting that in there. No, I don't need that anymore. No. And have you ever experienced this? Have you ever tried taking something old from the old car and putting it in the new car, and immediately when you tried to put it in there, you knew it didn't fit, it didn't even look right, it didn't feel right, you didn't want to drive around with that old thing in your new car? So consider that you had to sacrifice getting rid of what you had been carrying around in your old car for years because it had no room or no place in your new car. So just consider that when you're thinking about these ideas, dreams, and desires that you have, and the sacrifice that you're going to have to make in order to exchange one thing for another, one idea for another idea. So you said something to Shet. You said your peace filters out who and what's not for you. Let peace do its work. That's what came to me when you said that. Sometimes, because see, when we have these new ideas, dreams, and desires, it's easy to get overwhelmed thinking about all the that you have to do, and all the that has to be removed and replaced and things like that in order for you to acquire what you want, and it can become overwhelming. But allow peace. See, peace will do some of that work for you. Let me show you what I mean. If peace is the desire, who do you have to become? What do you have to let go of, or stop, or include more of, or bring into your life in order to create a life of peace? That's your sacrifice. That's the sacrifice of peace. So when transitioning, there's a perspective that we have to have as well. We view obstacles differently. We don't view obstacles as things in our way to stop us, or obstacles as this is a sign that I'm doing the wrong thing. I shouldn't be going after these dreams, ideas, and desires. We shift our perspective as attractive thinkers and visionaries. And when we face an obstacle, we understand that there's a tool that we can use, an attractive thinker tool, to uproot that obstacle. First of all, we have to discern the obstacle and learn what we can from it. Is it something in me that has to shift? Is this obstacle giving me an opportunity to shift something in me so that I become the person that I need to be to acquire this idea, dream, and desire? So when we talked about earlier, a minute ago, I said, we were talking about the sacrifice of peace and who do you have to become. And Tishet said, peace does some of the work for you. So let me help you out with that. Because Tishet, we've talked about this. We hear all the time what our possibilities are, what's available to us and what we can do with our lives. But there's a missing piece, because when we go to pursue that, after our belief is built up and we're inspired and we're on fire and we go to pursue that, There was no preparation for what we had to face while on that journey of pursuit, while on that journey of pursuing our goals. So we're here to fill in that gap, to bridge that gap, and inform you ahead of time. When in your pursuit of peace, in your sacrifice of peace, we want you to get used to people not agreeing with you or supporting you. Don't get mad. Look, Tichet and I have been mad enough for all of us when we started our entrepreneurial journeys and our transformations in our lives. So don't get mad. We already did that for you. Okay? Don't get mad. Just understand that's a part of the process, and it's okay. Everybody is not going to agree with you. Even your bestest best of friends are not going to support you. I'm here to inform you. Nobody told me that. I had to go through all of that transformation and journey and emotional upheavals and learn that that's a part of the process on my own. There was no one there to tell me that this is what I was going to encounter after I got inspired at the conference or at church or at the meeting. There was nobody there to tell me that. I had to learn that on my own. So don't get mad. Just know that's a part of the process. That's where your courage kicks in. You need courage to manifest your dreams, ideas, and desires, to create something new, to transform your life. Courage is a part of that. So get used to the right that you're doing feeling wrong. Sit with that.
Mhm.
Sit with that. Get used to that. Just because it feels wrong doesn't mean it is wrong. Get used to doing the right thing and it feeling like the wrong thing. That takes some work. It takes some work on ourselves to accept that doing the right thing is going to feel wrong. And only for a period of time, until it becomes your truth and you're okay with the opposing forces outside of your truth. Get used to encountering obstacles that are there to help shape you into the person that you need to be to have this desire. Those are obstacles. You know, Tisha, I got to the point where I was tired of hearing people complain about what they had to encounter while the whole time they're getting closer and closer to what they want. They're getting closer and closer to the dream. You don't want to complain all along the way. You're going to the state office building to open up your business. Oh my God, that lady was so mean. She didn't have to say it that way. Forget how she said. Just sign the paper and get your LLC. Forget how she said it. Just sign the paper and pay for your property return. You know, just forget how she said it and get your tax ID. Get your EIN number and walk on up out of there. You don't have to tie yourself up into her attitude, make her attitude your attitude, and all of that. This is what you're going. I'm telling you, I've coached attractive thinkers and new and aspiring entrepreneurs down through the years, and this is what stops them in their track. This is why their books were never birthed. This is why their businesses were never born, because they couldn't handle, they weren't prepared. Nobody told them that this sacrifice, this resistance was a part of the process. So now you're ahead of the game now, because we're telling you, we're here to inform you ahead of time. Get used to being talked about and misunderstood. You don't have to prove yourself or exonerate yourself or clear your name. You don't have to enter into that. You don't have to respond to that. Get used to your own thoughts being contrary to your heart's desires. And you still put your hand to creating your desires in the face of contrary thoughts. Get used to steering your mind daily and all throughout the day, checking in with your mind. Am I thinking thoughts that lead me to my goals? Is the thought that I'm thinking right now supportive of my goals or contrary to my goals? Get used to steering your mind in the beginning of the day and checking back in with your mind all day long to make sure that your mind is supporting and going in the direction that you desire. Get used to standing out and not fitting in. Here's one to share. Get used to the feeling of success and accomplishment. That can feel eerie and weird to accomplish something not only that has never been accomplished before in your family or in your circle, but in your own personal life. Something that you've never done before. Get used to how that feels because that's the sacrifice of peace. This is what we're going to encounter along the way to transforming our lives, doing anything new. You don't have to want to be an entrepreneur. I'm just here to support new and aspiring entrepreneurs. You don't have to want, you just may want to use these attractive thinker tools to transform your life, transform your thinking, do something new, move to another state, take on another career, let one career go and take on another career. A lot of that is happening right now in our world. People who have been in one career for 30 and 40 years, and you've known them as that, are now, you look and you see they've popped up, they're in another, a whole other career. And you're struggling to see them in that career because you've always seen them in who they used to be. So just get used to that, because you're going to have to fortify yourself for the resistance of ahead, and understand that we've already paved that way and carved that path for you with the Attractive Thinker book resource on Amazon and these Beyond the Break 2020 messages every week. We're here to support you so that you don't get your dreams, ideas, and desires don't get stuck in this process. Don't get stuck in your fears and your low self-esteem and a lack of clarity. You don't want your dreams, ideas, and desires to get stuck in that. So we shared with you part 2 of Peace Disturbance, the sacrifice of peace. Now you know. Now you know. You may not have known before. Now it's coming together. Now it's clear. Now you understand. And you keep people in their proper perspectives, which was one of the topics that we shared on the Attractive Thinker radio show. Remember that, Tichet? The proper perspective. The proper perspective of pain, the proper perspective of peace. Keep peace in its proper perspective, because you deserve to have peace and it's worth the sacrifice. Tichet, tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager, and give us some lasting comments on this sacrifice of peace.
Absolutely. The value of peace is worth the sacrifice. When you get to a place of peace, you'll see that your peace is not something you're willing to trade for anything else, because the value of peace is priceless, right? To me, I find myself being able to manifest more when I'm at peace in my spirit,
Mm-hmm.
right? And faster and easier. Peace will also allow me to be in alignment, um, because I'm not wrestling with myself. I'm not wrestling with my ego. I'm not wrestling with the false identity. I'm not wrestling with limitation, and I'm not wrestling with false beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
My mind is quiet. Is resting, and so the creativity, I notice, is coming up a little more when I'm at peace. Peace made room for creativity for me. It allowed me to be able to walk in myself. And it gave me the confidence to be able to be myself without having to explain
Mm-hmm.
myself to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Not only that, but the people who are still connected to me, they get a better version of me now that my mind is at peace.
Mm-hmm.
When I was wrestling and I wasn't at peace and I didn't feel alive and I was pretty much depressed, I wanted to give to people, but I couldn't give what I didn't have,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I had to be willing to step out of being in alignment with everybody else and get in alignment with the spirit in order to discover who I am and discover the peace that come with it, in order to be a walking testimony or a living answer to the people who weren't willing to cross the borders or weren't willing to
Mm-hmm.
come out of their comfort zone. I had to be a living answer
Mm-hmm.
to some people.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found is I'm able to give more now than I was able to give then. And I'm giving more empowered. And when I say more empowered, Dr. Toni, meaning I'm giving more seeds that are fruitful as opposed to just giving the bare minimum just to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're tired, you don't have nothing to give. You
Mm-hmm.
So anytime anybody asks you for anything, it's too much because you're down to your last piece of energy. And then when someone says, "Can you?" or "Will you?"
Mm,
all you feel is, because you know that it's going to take all that you have in order to give.
mhm,
And then if somebody were to waste
mm,
what you just gave, you feel that,
mhm,
right? You feel that a little more. You feel that it's like you took the last of me and you walked all over it.
mhm,
This is why I stopped giving people the last of me and I shifted it and
mm,
started giving me the best of me first so that I could acquire an overflow that people can feed off of without it draining me. So when they don't do what I think they should do with the message, that does not affect me because they didn't have to drain me to get it. So
mm,
I stopped making people responsible for what I wanted them to do with what I gave them.
mhm,
So
mhm,
when you give out of an overflow, when you give anything to people, you can't tell people what to do with it. You're not responsible for them to take what you have and make them do what you want them to do with it. Some people is going to take what you have to give and they're going to waste it. Some people are, right? But you can't stop overflowing because somebody else is going to waste it. You make sure you create enough
mhm,
that the people, not only will the people who will waste it get it, but the people who need it will also have more than enough,
mhm,
right? Because we can't tell people what to get, what to do with the gifts that you gave them.
mhm,
If you try and do that, try to make people do what you want to do, you're going to come up with that resistance and you're going to be disappointed every time because people are not going to value what you have to give like you value what you
mhm,
have to give because they don't see the sacrifice you had to make in order to give it to them. So it is important for us to be at peace in our minds, in our hearts, in our body. It is important to have your ego and the spirit in balance and in alignment with each other so that you can have a full experience in your human existence. Your soul desires. That's why we need peace so you can hear and you can increase in discernment. This is why you need peace. It's not just so everything will be okay. Peace is necessary for your existence, for your soulful experience. Peace is necessary. So if peace is calling you, you owe it to yourself to see why. But sometimes you're not going to see why until after you then blaze the trail, after you then broke ground. Sometimes you're not going to see it until you turn back. And hindsight is 2020. That's why we said beyond the break 2020, because hindsight is 2020.
yeah,
But sometimes you're not going to see hindsight is 2020 till you move past beyond the break. And that takes courage.
mm,
And if you don't know what's out there, sometimes all you got to do is follow peace
mm,
because the peace came from connection. The peace came from your alignment with your higher self, knowing, having the clarity that you might not have right now. That's where that peace is coming from. So you follow peace. You have to first understand that you are worthy of peace. You are deserving of peace and joy and abundance. And you are worthy of your promises. You are worthy of it. You deserve to have more than enough. You are deserving of the overflow. You are deserving of the greatness that life has to offer. We are not, I am a firm believer that we do not have to live in misery. We don't. We don't. And clarity can deliver you from misery. Understanding who you are, why you are, what you are, understanding the value of peace and the sacrifice that it takes, understanding courage and boldness, understanding the difference between the ego and the spirit, who you really are versus who you think you are. All of that can deliver you from misery really quickly. And then what happens is your physical life will line up with what's going on internally. But it starts inside of you. Your whole journey starts with inside of you. So if you're following peace, imagine what you can create with peace.
mm,
You create a life that's worth living, and a life that's worth living every single day. Imagine that. Imagine living a life that makes you wake up every day and it's like, I get to do this all over again. I get the privilege to do this all over again. And then you allow yourself to appreciate every single moment in your life because it's good, it's great. It's not to say you will never have problems again, but you'll have a better perception and understanding when those problems arise. You won't face problems the way you used to face problems. You face them now with clarity. You face them now with power. So you're not staying down all the time. You're even if you were to get knocked down, you know you can get back up. And if you get back up, you're getting back up with power. You're not gonna continue on with the race with less power than you had before you went down. And so when you understand the value that peace will bring, you'll sacrifice it all. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers, all you visionaries who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that you can create a new vision for yourself. Go to my contact us page, put in your information, let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you so you can live a life of fulfillment, a life of peace, a life that's overflowing with abundance beyond the break. Again, that's www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Oh my God, that was so fantastic and amazing. Attractive thinkers and visionaries, I trust that this message has calmed your spirit and soothed your soul and inspired you of your possibilities, of the possibility of peace, fortified you and supported you for with attractive thinker tools for the sacrifice, the exchange that you're going to have to make for your peace. You know, Tichet, when you said you deserve peace, immediately I heard, peace is our birthright. I remember there's a scripture in the Bible when Jesus was leaving and he says, my peace I leave with you. He didn't say I leave money with you, I leave cars or houses with you, I leave influence with you. He said, I leave my peace with you. It's your birthright. And when I looked up birthright while you were talking, it means entitled by birth. That means just by being born, you have a right to it. It's yours just by being born. You deserve peace. And down through the years, I heard a coach saying, how do you expect to have peace when you're surrounded by, or saying yes to, or allowing yourself, planting yourself in environments that are robbing you, stealing your peace? Peace is a treasure. How can you have peace if things are stealing your peace? So listen to this message again. Let it go deeper with you, with your understanding, so that the clarity and the truth rises from within and you're empowered to make the sacrifice of peace. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist, supporting new and aspiring entrepreneurs in writing your books and giving birth to your new business ideas. You can find us at theattractivethinker.guru. Grab your freebies there, but don't forget to get your Attractive Thinker book on Amazon. This empowering resource is something that you will carry throughout the rest of your entrepreneurial journey to support you in getting unstuck and having the proper tools. Sometimes you encounter obstacles, you don't have the right tool. You can't use a hammer when you should be using a screwdriver or one of those things, a lever to anchor and give you the leverage that you need so that all that weight is not on you. But we have the Attractive Thinker book. It's a powerful resource full of tools. You never know what I can't tell you what you're gonna encounter on your entrepreneurial journey, but we have tools for it. I want you to always remember, you hear us say all of the time, our life's work, it is definitely to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through. Scratch that. Scratch that. Don't be overwhelmed and consumed by that. It's not what you're going through. It's how you're doing it. Think attractively. And we'll see you soon.